the McSherry theory is essentially an opportunity for me to complete songs that I haven't done with my other band, which is McSherry O'Brien. And what has happened over the years is that you end up with a collection of songs that are just sitting on the counter, so to speak, and you wonder, am I ever going to record these songs? And so I ended up with probably, I've got about 20 or 30 songs that have never been recorded. So I thought, here's an opportunity. What I'll do is I'll get a few players in, people I know, good players, and we'll do those particular songs. So this is the second album I've done of my original works, and I've done it with the assistance of some terrific players. And I should mention immediately, and that's Dean Hilson. Dean's a sax player, and he played on the title track. And the title of the album is Georgie Lee and the Lost Soul. And the story of that particular song, it actually came from a dream, a real dream. I had this idea of someone actually, believe it or not, being murdered and their organs being taken and distributed to other people. A nice idea really. But in his case, this particular guy who's done over, they can't extract his soul. So it's a kind of a parable, and they end up burying the soul at sea, and then it's picked up by someone else, and the soul goes through all sorts of different reincarnations before it finds the right person. So it's a long track. It's not radio friendly because it runs for 9 minutes, would you believe, with my voice, Dean sax, Yuri on bass, and Nick on drums. And I love it, I think it's the best thing I've done, to be honest. But as I say, it doesn't really lend itself to commercial radio or, I'll probably struggle to get it anywhere. But I do love the track, and what it's about is the freedom of expression and being able to turn something that was an idea, from a dream into a long piece. Took me quite a while to get it right, but I'm pretty happy with it now.
Bunch of things.
David McLerney. It would take me a week to explain who and how about Dave, but essentially we met him, I'm talking about myself and Paul O'Brien, about probably 8 years ago. He recorded the first album we did, and that was a fantastic experience because we found Dave and we said, would you be prepared to come to Western Australia with us? And he said, sure, I'd love to. So off we went all together, and we went down to a farm, a little place called Denmark, which is outside of Albany, and got a good friend there, James Blackwell, who's a fantastic slide player, good harmonies as well. And Jim's living on a property of about 40 acres or so, and he's got an old schoolhouse on it. So we went down there and we set up recording. We got all the equipment in Perth, drove it down to there, and then set up and recorded for a couple of weeks on Jim's farm. And it was the most incredible experience. So as a result of that, I think we bonded with Dave, and we've done 5 albums, McSherry O'Brien, with him. And now I've done a couple of the McSherry theory as well. So we know him pretty well, and we're very close friends, And he's a fabulous guy, because the thing I love about Dave when you record is he's quick. So I'll have an idea, I'll sit down with Dave and he'll say, let's go, and off you go. You put down one part, you put down the next part. And that's how I've done the McSherry theory. I go in there, I do them basically just on guitar, occasionally piano, and I'll sing my parts, always to a click track, and then I'll bring the guys in to sort of, work it out from there, so to speak. And it's worked, and the great thing about Dave is that it's a one-stop shop. You go in there and, he'll record it. By the end of the day, you're walking out with mixes, that kind of thing. And I love that. You take them home, the thrill of listening to the mix that night, And Dave's a legend, You bring up anybody and you say, oh, yeah, I recorded with him, Oh, yeah, I remember that guy, And, of course, he was around during the early days when Nick Cave was recording, and he's got a couple of those gold records up on his wall there. And as I say, pretty much anyone in the local industry you can think of has had some connection with Dave McLerney. So, genuinely, I love the guy. I think he's unique, quite a talent. the video for Georgie Lee and the Lost Soul, originally I thought I'm just going to film Dean Hilson playing sax, which I did when he played it. You know, I just did on a simple camera, filmed it. It had a great soundtrack because he was playing sax. So I thought, oh, this will do. Then I started to think about it and thought, wow, I wonder if you could do an animation perhaps or something like that that would tell the story. You know, it didn't have to be literal, but, you know, it could be all sorts of things. So there's a place online these days where you can get those things done called Fiverr, and a lot of people use it. And what you do is essentially you put your project up there and you get bids. People come in and say, I'll do it for, you know, blah, blah, blah. And this one guy from Brighton in England, 21-year-old guy called Khalif, contacted me and said, oh, and I loved it. He said, oh, I love your song. Your song is dope. And once he said that word dope, I thought, now here's someone who's hip and in control, because it's not a word that I would use, but my kids would use it, you know. Hey, that's dope. So anyway, he said he'd do it, and get this, he said he'd do it for $200. So I said, all right, you do me a video, I can't lose, you know. It doesn't matter what he comes up with, I was thinking 200. But he's done this fantastic little piece. It took him 14 days, that was the turnaround. During the process, he was constantly in contact with me, asking, is this okay, is that okay, and all of that, to the point where I thought, just go away and do it, pal, you know. But he did it, and there you have it. So it's a 9-minute video that follows the story of Georgie Lee and the Lost Soul. So I'm really happy.